Pieces of a Nation. How's it going, everyone? This is part 2 of the Zoey Rose interview. Stay tuned and continue with the fun.
But I think what this transition, this shift has done for you, right? And please correct me if I'm completely wrong, or if I'm going off edge or whatever. But I feel like it's giving you the opportunity to shine your heart.
Yes.
Right. And just really get in touch with who you are. I mean, there's this really great saying about when your heart's darkened or there's a veil around your heart, right? Expression is a great way to polish your heart and polish the different facets of your heart, right? And this is because the 37 years that you had, and there's this one part of your heart that was probably the main artery, if you will, right? For you to express yourself, wasn't expressed for 37 years. Now that you're able to express it, you're able to sort of feel again. Is
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah, that's very good on that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That'll be $200, please.
Oh yeah, with this rate we're going right now, yeah, about $100 an hour, sure. Yes. No, yeah, it is feeling. It is also, like I said, even going back all the way to the OCD. It's just like, if I cry, people are gonna know. What little female clothes I had before, it was just always like, when I lived in an apartment, and it was like, oh, it's time to wash them. Well, people are gonna know if there's only like 2 or 3 things in here, and the rest are men. It's like, I got to make sure I set the timer to the dryer.
Wow.
Like 3 minutes beforehand, so I'm right there as soon as it ends. And if somebody else is in there, I'd be like, oh, I would do anything so where people wouldn't see that. There was so many different things where I hid, from emotions to everything. And yeah, just being able to be real, and I don't care, cry, whatever, fuck it. If I get angry, I mean, TERFs might sit there and say, see, that's still that angry male socialization in there. No, women get angry too. Right. We're allowed to.
It's just a different kind of anger.
Yeah, it's, I share so much of things I feel where it's like, I'll never be seen as a complete woman, because yes, even cis women, some can't have kids. But that's my biggest thing, is I'll never be able to be a mother in that way. Like when I look at you and her, it's like, and then seeing your kid, it's just like, I wish I could have that. I feel like a creeper online. Anybody that posts a picture of their kid, it's getting an automatic heart react from me, because I wish I could have that. And it's, so I can show the good emotions and the bad emotions now. I don't want to hold back as much anymore.
Right. It's the opportunity to express, right?
And female emotions are so much more all over the place.
Man, listen. I completely agree with that. I remember sitting in my bedroom when I was 16 or 17, and I don't know why I was doing this, but I was fully aware of the fact of, I've got to express my female side, right? So I went to go buy a CD at this spirituality bookstore, and I was searching for the right sort of meditation music, and I found this CD on how to express the moon side, because I'm a guy. And I'm not saying I'm fully aggressive, but I'm so hyper, not just aware, but just my energy gets so intense sometimes, right? That even Misty tells me you gotta calm down, but I can't help it. And I find that whenever I shift my energies and my way of thinking into a little bit more, I don't want to say feminine, but I'm honing in on something a little bit more gentle, right?
But that's sad that we have to call that feminine.
But yeah, it's energy, right? But
yeah,
what would you call
it's energy. But that's just natural humanity, though, is you have no control.
The yin and the yang, right?
Yeah, but you also have no control over what that testosterone does to you.
Right.
Like how it makes men react and feel, and it's there because of biology. Right. And that aggression is there, and that's what it is. But that's what it is to be a man. But if you're sitting there and going, oh, well, I need to become softer. Well, why does that have to be automatically perceived as feminine? It's like, why? I always tell people in the community, I'm like, fuck gender norms. Like, somebody in a support group will sit there and go like, well, you know, I'm a trans woman, but I still love baseball. So love baseball.
Right.
You know, you want to work on your car? Work on your car. It's like and those are all societal constructed gender traits on there.
Right.
Men should cry.
Right.
Like, the thing that gets me choked up the most now is seeing a grown man cry. Like, you want to make me cry is watching a grown man cry. The last couple weddings I've been to, like, I see the husband up there, the groom, and then as soon as I see them tear up, I'm like, whew, tears strolling down my face, because I never had that. Yeah. Because I was so afraid, if you cry, people are gonna know.
Yeah. No, it is. It gets for a while. It took me to still kind of accept the fact that I can basically cry and cue. Yeah. Right.
Well, you got to as an actor.
Well, even before I was an actor, you know, it was just like that natural ability to just cry and cue, right? And you know, it's funny because we just celebrated our son's first birthday, and you know, after we did his cake, you know, we thanked everyone, and my wife was, you know, thanking everyone, and she was teary-eyed, and she looked at me, and I go, "Oh fuck, dude!" Like, it's that energy is like coming my way, and I was sucking it up, you know, just to really just, you know,
I have to be the brick. I have to be the strong.
No. It wasn't even that. I just really wanted to get my words out. Right. My whole goal was to get my words out, like what I wanted to say in the context of appreciation and gratitude. But no, what happened? Like within like maybe 7 or 8 words, the choke came, right? And I just said, I can't finish, right? I just stopped him midway, and you know, everyone clapped, whatever, you know, and we moved forward. But I just kept on thinking, man, why did I do that? I you know, and I talked to her dad, and her dad you know, made a. It was not a hurtful joke, but like it was just like, it was kind of like, you know, I feel you, but he really supported me in saying this way, and I just thought, man, like, you know, man, why did I do that, right? Then I talked to her brother, and I go, man, I'm still trying to get over this, you know, the fact that I actually cried during this thing. Because I have a long history of doing this. Even at my one of my friends, I was the best man, and I couldn't stop crying. Right? It was the worst, but the best like incident. Anyway, so but her brother had said, "So are you kidding me? That was the best moment, you know, because it made everyone in the room choke up with you." And I just thought, wow, man, those are really you know, good words of encouragement. But I completely agree with you. I think there shouldn't be any sort of you know, borders on or limitations on who we really express. If we choose that we want to show this part of ourselves, we should, right? And
well, it's grown up with like the thing of, oh, you need to be strong, you need to be a man, and it's like, well, crying is considered weak, but it's not. Right. Why pent that up? And no, it's a beautiful thing sharing that about the first birthday. Yeah. It's good that you lost that, because you were in the moment. You weren't thinking about anything else. You were just overcome with that joy of, you two brought this life into the world, and you had it survive a year. Like, that's something to be proud of and to be emotional of on there. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody gets to that. So love it.
Damn straight, man. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
What about love? What about relationships? What do you see?
Oh God. So no, earlier as I kind of worded it multiple times, is I was only attracted to women. It's weird. It's how I should start it. It's weird. Love. I finally, a year ago, a little bit more than a year ago as of today, I went on a couple of the dating apps because I was like, oh, let's try this. I wasn't ready then. I went on 2 dates with one woman, a trans woman, older than me, post-op, sweet woman, but just not feeling the connection. She felt the connection after the first one. I don't know why. I guess I'm so wonderful. No. That's what I need to tell myself. So
you are,
the
Zoey,
self-esteem.
you are.
And I was nice because she pretty much walks everywhere, even though she's got a car, but she's just like, she came from a city where it's all about public transportation. So it's like, oh, I'll drive you home, because it was all uphill. And then she was like, oh, that was fun. Let's have another date. And I was like, fuck. She's in my car. I'm not going to turn her down then. We went on the second date, still just wasn't feeling it, because I was like, I need to give her, second chance. Maybe I was just, because it was my first date in over a decade. It was the first time I've dated somebody since coming out, and maybe I was just nervous. Maybe I still had walls up. But even the second date, no. Stupidly, even went back to her place after we had dinner. We were on almost your size couch. I was about where you're sitting, and she was at the other end. She kept moving forward, and I kept getting further and further into the corner, because I'm just like, oh, I don't want to make out because I'm not feeling it. And then I just like, okay, I'm not ready for it yet. There's still too much I don't like about my body. There's still too much I'm processing through. It's almost like going through a program. They tell you in AA, OA, any of the A's, that your first year you shouldn't date because you have to work on yourself. So I was like, okay, I'm going to wait a little bit longer till I feel ready. And then, attraction has changed. Like I said, it's less physical. I'm amazed I never hit anybody, because old Zach would be driving down the street and LA's filled with beautiful people, and I would turn my head and check out some girl. I don't know the last time I've done that. I've seen attractive people. I'll look at them, but I'm not like turning my head. And as I said, the brain process has changed too. And this happens to some, it doesn't, but sexuality can also flip a little. Sometimes a guy can sit down next to me, and because my sense of smell is stronger now. Because women have a stronger sense of smell, because it's built in as an innate thing in them. Is it bullshit? Is it pseudoscience? I don't know, but I feel like I do pick up on smells a lot more, especially men with BO. Oh my God.
I think it's true, because Misty calls me out every
and you're like, I can't smell it.
I really can't.
But even like just picking up on pheromones. Sometimes a guy will sit down next to me, and I'll do a double take, because there's something I'm picking up instinctively. So I've just recently gotten back on the dating apps. Talking to a couple, haven't gone on a date with any of them yet, but exploring. I'm only really, if they are men, I'm only looking at ones that consider themselves bisexual or pansexual. It is listed pansexual. Pansexual, in some ways, it's a different way of saying bi, but it's more for people that also, where it's like you don't care about the gender. It's more the person than it is their gender or their sexuality. So that way, it's not necessarily about what parts do I have. It's tough, because even though sometimes it is bisexual or whatever, I connected with somebody 2 weeks ago now, and we match, and as like most guys do, they only look at the pictures when they swipe. They don't read the profile until they connect. And then we connected. He read the very first thing, where it's basically, I say, I'm a pre-op trans woman, and their message to me was, nobody wants to date a tranny.
Wow.
A majority doesn't. I'm of the one where I understand that genital preferences exist. Like, you can be attracted to a trans woman or a trans man, but then, well, I'm not interested in dick. I get that. My thing is, I don't even want to use it, because it's dysphoric to use it. I don't know if I'll ever have that surgery. So yeah, it's a thing that I'm learning to balance. And yeah, who knows? Who knows where it's going to go?
So
I'm still mainly more interested in women than men.
Yeah.
On an emotional level. On a physical level, it's really 90-10 women to men. On a romantic or emotional level, it's probably 60-40 women.
because you fully can't realize it until I don't want to say a full transition, but there's certain I think there's like certain elements that happen with your body that which affect your mind to really see how you are attracted to certain types of people, right?
Yeah.
But that's really interesting because now that you're exploring and you're trying to figure this whole thing out, what's the easiest thing through this process, and what is the most challenging thing through this process?
The easiest thing right now, like through this process, is once you accept yourself to get on hormones. Like it used to be such the hardest thing to do. Now there's places where I agree with them in most cases, but also I don't necessarily always agree with it because I don't want, because I believe there should be a little bit of gatekeeping in there, but not as much gatekeeping as there used to be. So as an example, like where I get my medical help and my hormones, it's informed consent. You say you're trans, they say, okay, here's the pros, here's the cons. You basically sign that you agree to that. I think that's a good model. If people aren't trans when they start it, they're gonna feel dysphoria. And I know a couple people that thought they were trans, they went on hormones. Within a couple weeks, they were off because then they truly felt dysphoria. They were more men that were cross-dressers. They were into the thrill and the fetish of dressing up. But once their brain had more estrogen than testosterone, their brain was like, no, this is wrong. And like me, once a couple weeks in, once I was more estrogen dominant than testosterone, I finally felt at ease. That yelling that I said was in my head was finally off. So hormones, greatest thing. I have to take them for the rest of my life. That sucks, but it's part of what comes with that. The hardest thing I think is socially transitioning. It's coming out to people. It's making that switch from one gender to the other, being perceived as that. Or if you're non-binary, kind of ending up more in the middle, somewhere gender non-conforming or agender or any of that. Because those have their own separate thing. I can't really talk on those because I'm in the binary. I am trans woman. I'm not non-binary, gender non-conforming, or agender. But like I said, those times where there was places that knew me as Zach, they knew something was going on because my face was changing a bit. Even though I might have been in boy mode, I had a little bit of makeup on. My hair was getting longer. They were noticing little things, but then one time I would show up all female. And like, as a foodie, I know it's a horrible, it's not the best restaurant in LA, but Norm's, the one on La Cienega.
I love Norm's.
It's cheap. I drink a lot of iced tea. They keep it filled. The waitresses are wonderful there. I got my normal waitresses there. That time I showed up and I was wearing female clothes. 5 waitresses hugged me and one of the hostesses.
Wow.
Because it was just like, we've been seeing you coming here for years. Because I would go there, I'd read scripts because I could do it and not be interrupted. And they would notice my tea and and they've seen me become miserable to happy. But doing that switch, it's so, because you don't know what type of reaction you're going to get. I was more androgynous looking on a time I went to Six Flags with some friends. And even though it was more female than it was male, and I walked into the women's restroom and there was a mother waiting for the stall with her 3 kids. And she gave me a look of death. Wow. I'm just like, fuck. And all I could do was just stare at the ground because I was like, I want to show her I'm not here to do anything. I made sure my phone was in the pocket so she didn't think I was going to try to record anything. It's just those small things because you don't know how the people are going to react. Going to my cousin's wedding, I stopped for food in Bakersfield. I was looking down at the menu, and a person walks up, "Oh, what can I get for you, ma'am?" And I looked up, and they're like, "Oh, sorry, sir." And I was just like, that was 8 months in, and I was wearing just jeans and a t-shirt, so whatever. But it's just like, had I been like, no, it's ma'am, maybe could have spit in my food. Like, you don't know, because say something like only 21, or no, it's less than that, 15% of the people know actually somebody that's trans, that's out. 15%.
Right.
There's a lot of people I will come across that I'm the first trans person they've ever interacted with. And how are they going to react? We had some work in Texas, and I was always afraid to go to Texas because people walk around with guns on their side.
Right.
Who's to say I walk into a restroom and I'm not going to walk out and there's some guy with a gun at my head because I was in the restroom with his daughter.
Right.
All I have to do is pee. Like, I'm not trying to do anything bad. But just that social transition, that thing of always like, somebody's going to say something, somebody's going to do something. I don't know the last time I've gotten misgendered, even with this voice, which is still kind of surreal to me because I see still so much of the male in me, but that's the dysphoria speaking.
Right.
But I sit there and go, like, when people say ma'am or miss or her, I'm just like, it's still kind of surreal to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, are they being genuine and that's what they see, or are they just being polite? Like, it's such, trying not to keep your head in that at the whole time. Especially because online, a lot of what they refer to as left book, like the left book leaning trans groups, are very in that nature where even somebody that's early on that's like, oh, I got misgendered, well, they have a day's worth of facial hair growth, but everybody's like, oh, you look so feminine, you look so wonderful. But then it gets in my head where I'm like, is everybody hug boxing me? So it's finding that nice comfort level and socially coming out and presenting yourself and trying not to constantly be in your head about, are people being real or people being just polite?
It's really just being in the moment. So just for affiliate this context, I had to go take a tea break. I'm so sorry. I was holding this in, and Zoe had said pee, and as soon as she said pee, I just thought,
You're like, that's it.
Okay, here it comes.
No, it's horrible, and I get why people are concerned about the bathroom issue.
Right. So just to recap a little bit, you entered the bathroom at this restaurant.
Six Flags.
Six Flags, and you went into the women's bathroom, and this lady gave you a look of death.
Yeah, and so I just looked down and totally became just showing I was not a harm of any kind. The mother took in the youngest daughter and went into the stall, and then because there was only one in that bathroom for one odd reason, and the older daughter that was about a teen just kind of looked at me and just was like trying to make eye contact with me, and you could tell she could feel my pain.
Wow.
But kind of ruined the rest of the day for me. But I do get that, because there is that fear out there. There is that certain sides of the media put that out there of, we're trying that because trans women are using the restroom now, men are going to dress up in dresses and walk into the restrooms. Yes, there's been a couple small instances of that happening, but how many more instances have there been of men attacking boys in the men's room? They're worried about their daughters, but not about their sons.
Right.
It can happen anywhere. Like I said, sometimes you just gotta pee. Like,
yeah,
it just sucks that that's always on my mind. Even though I haven't been called sir in public in forever, it's still there in my mind.
Right.
Especially stopping in middle of California. Why am I going blank on his name? Who's the big Trump guy out of Central California that still won his seat?
Oh man,
I can't remember, but I was like, oh, I really got to go. And then I pull off and the whole exit is all lined with his signs. And I pull up to a gas station and it's just surrounded with his signs. It was like, oh God. but I have to pee.
Right.
I can't hold it for another half an hour to get into somewhere a little less conservative.
I mean, this is actually going to lead me into my next question. You know, I know we followed politics together for a good year straight. You know, and I sort of personally had to take a break. Right.
I did too.
Yeah, it was intense, man. It was intense. But now that we've come back to this. During the time when you when you came out on Facebook with this interview, right? You know, you were going through a lot of stuff, and there were a lot of fears of what might, you know, sort of like, you know, take a step back or two with certain rights. Let's talk about the political spectrum on how you feel about the way things are going and what you want to change in politics and in government.
I mean, I believe no matter what race, what nationality, what gender, what sexuality, we're all human. When you look at DNA, we are more alike than we're different. Like, more of our DNA matches up. So why around that 7% are we fighting over that? Like, human rights should be afforded to everybody. The transgender military ban, why? They're serving our country. Our current president looked for excuses to get out of serving our country. I was the first male in my family not to go into the military. My family goes all the way back to Ulysses S. Grant, is an uncle of mine. Wow. I don't believe in war. I know why it exists, mainly to make people rich, mainly to steal resources, if we're getting a little too political on that.
No,
but,
please, let's go.
But I just could never do that. I could never go into that. I've held a gun twice in my life. And when I was at a friend's bachelor party, the guy at the gun range was like, "You're the most uncomfortable looking person I've ever seen holding this gun." It was a semi-automatic rifle. You barely touch the trigger and shoots 15 times. Yeah, I would not have been good in war.
That's scary.
Yeah, I would have been like the guy in that Mel Gibson movie that refused to carry a gun.
Right.
Because I can't cause harm to humans because we're humans.
Right.
People are like, oh, they might call me a liberal, a libtard, whatever. No, I'm left-leaning because that's where humanity lies. Humanity lies in the left wing. Medicare for all. Why aren't we taking care of more of our nation so we're a stronger nation, we're a healthier nation? Why aren't we taking 10% of our military budget and putting it into education? Partially because I think you keep your populace dumber, they're easier to control. Why is civics not a requirement anymore to graduate high school on there? There's a reason why leading up to the 2016 election there was so much misinformation, because people don't know how our government works. If I had time, I would love to run for local office type stuff. I would love to get out there. I would love to be more politically involved, to show, like, I never know how to pronounce his name, but Mayor Pete. I love Mayor Pete. Is America going to elect an openly out married gay president? Probably not yet. Especially he would be the youngest president. I think where we really should start looking, instead of people like Sanders and Biden and Warren, they're all up there in age. The policy that they're wanting to make and put in, they'll be dead by the time it makes a difference. Why aren't we electing somebody younger that it's going to affect their life? And if it doesn't necessarily affect their life, it affects their kids' lives. Because the changes we're making now are going to affect 25 years down the line. I mean, I'm left leaning because it's humanity. There's a lot of great stuff in the progressive movement, but I'm not progressive. I'm not liberal. I wish there was a humanity party, because when I vote, I don't vote along party lines. I look at it, what will make the best for humanity as a whole.
That's interesting. That's interesting you bring up, like, you know, having a humane party, a humanitarian party, if you will, right? and basically focus on human rights, humanism, essentially, right?
Yeah.
That's actually a really good idea. That's a really, really good idea. I mean, look, man, I have a son, and we're extremely picky and aware of social media and politics and where things are going currently with politics and the world, right? We've made a choice not to put him on social media,
which I applaud you for.
Thank you. I mean, the last few pics, I got to say, I put some like
you put filters on them.
Yeah, I put some filters, but only because I was so proud of those moments. I just had to celebrate the first birthday. I just had to.
Did he really turn one if you didn't post it on Facebook?
Exactly. So, but we think about this because he is in this age of so many things shifting. I mean, there's a lot of stuff shifting right now, right? And he's in it. And by the time he gets to a certain age, it'll be just a norm for him. So I'm interested in seeing what his perspective will be. But one of my biggest concerns and maybe just observations is, you have parents that before Trump took office, they were rooting for the other side, the left, right? Okay. But as soon as Trump took office, fears galore, right? I mean, it was just basically like, what are we doing, man? We're getting this celebrity. It's almost like going back to the Ronald Reagan era, right? Except Ronald Reagan, pretty halfway decent, but there's a lot of other politics that I'm not going to go into with this episode, but with Trump being as president, and character has a lot to do with it, and thus so far that we've seen within the last 2 years of really just more creation of fear and division. For you as a trans woman, and for you as a human being who eventually wants a family, number one, what are your biggest fears with all that, and what direction would you want to really just take it?
Well, it's so multiple answers on that. The biggest thing right now is the divide of the country, and it's perpetuated by the media. So many people, I know the loudest people are the ones that typically consume the most news and spin them. Like, I know somebody that's every day, all they're posting is like anti-Trump stuff, but they have CNN on from the time they wake up to the time they go to bed, and they're only hearing one side of it. Same is true for people on the other side that will watch Fox News. They were the ones like Benghazi, her emails, lock her up, going on and on and on. People are like, why are you reading Fox News? Because I want to know the other side. I read CNN, I read BBC. I loved when, oh God, what was the name of that one? It was the network that ended up being, Al Jazeera News. It's because it was not any of our politics, but it was like, how does our news affect them? It was world news. And it's I don't know if that divide can ever be fixed, especially with media. And the media is there, and they're 24 hours a day, and they're multi-million-dollar empires because they sell ads. So they have to scare you to keep you addicted, to keep you watching, so they can continue selling more ads. That way more people can buy catheters and everything else that's on every time I'm watching CNN. It's all, you're old, here's stuff to buy, and here's a new drug because your anxiety and stress the fuck out because you're watching news all day. Here's an anti-anxiety drug. Right. But then the list of side effects is half the commercial.
Yeah, I mean, apparently back in the 50s, like before, like a Time magazine had all these like really positive covers, right? And their sales weren't even that great. But then eventually, I guess one of the execs just thought, like, why don't we just add a little bit of fear in it? and then if you see a scale, it just starts climbing. Yep. For a trans woman and wanting to start a family, possibly, right, in your life, like how is that going to affect you? Like your decision making, what you want to do, what you see in the future, like how is that going to affect you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. All I can say is what today and tomorrow, you know, I try to live in the moment of now. Like, what can I do to better myself in the now? And cutting back from social media has been great. Cutting back from news consumption has been great. People are like, oh, it's going to make you naive. You're not going to know what's going on. I can talk about the latest stuff. I listen to the Daily from New York Times every day. That's my biggest probably thing of news now. Because it gives me the biggest story and the next couple biggest stories in a quick, easy to digest format. I can't live in that fear. I lived in that fear for 37 years. I lived in that fear of I'm going to transition and only what people are going to see is a fat man in a dress. I broke through that fear. Yeah, there's still a lot of the fear of unknown, but if I'm living in that, I'm not going to fully live. Going back to like when I told the ex, like when I told her everything when I came out, she was the last person I told in person. I was just like, had we gotten married and had kids, like I couldn't do that to you because who knows, they could have been the kids with the freak parents. That could still happen. I'm developing a pilot right now where at the first act break, you find out that because it's stupidly working title are two moms, but you find out that one of the mothers is trans because there are some trans women that pass that to the majority of people they won't know. So if you go in blind to the show, but that's not going to be the main focus. It's going to be like Modern Family. It's going to be like Roseanne. It's going to be like any of those old family comedies where it's a family comedy. Just one of the characters happens to be trans, but that's not going to be the issue most of the time because most of the time it's not going to be the issue. Hell, to most people, they're going to see him as a lesbian couple, and that's going to be a bigger issue than the mother being trans because most people in that small town won't know. So it's trying to, in my own long way around, in my own activism of it all, is try to normalize us, try to show people as they meet me, as they meet other people, is we're just normal humans. It sucks that we have to go through this thing. It sucks that many people hate us just because we're living our truth. Many people, when I make my joke about my orchiectomy, and when I explain what that is, like I always make eye contact with a guy to watch him cringe because for a lot of men, their manhood is in their manhood. And so, yeah, I'm just going to continue trying to be out there and be open and vulnerable and show that it is just me living my life, that I am just like you, that I am like you as Richard, you as Misty, like me as Misty, or whatever. We're just humans. And some of us, they would sit there and go, well, a lot of trans people are crazy or mentally ill. You try living with something where your brain's telling you every day you're wrong for so long and try not to go crazy with it.
Right.
And then when people want to hate you for something you didn't choose to be, and not let that eat you up inside. Luckily for me, like I said, if somebody wants to not like me for that, I affect their life in no way. They can hate me. They can despise me. They can look down upon me. That's their choice.
Right.
And hopefully they see it doesn't affect me. Even though that one woman in the bathroom, she saw it affect me. But I want to show that, yeah, you're not gonna change my life. You're not gonna make it worse. I was complaining about what some women in a TERF, aka radical feminist group, were saying. People are like, why are you in a group with TERFs? Because I want to know what the people that hate us have to say about us.
You say TERFs or Turks?
TERFs. TERF stands for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminist. So they're feminists that are for more women's rights, more rights for women, but they do not see trans women as women. They see them as men.
Wow.
So they're fighting for all women except trans women.
There's a group for this.
Well, there's lots, but radical feminist, TERFs is the other term for them. Gender critical feminist is another word. They keep getting different words.
Wow.
And I like seeing what their arguments are.
Yeah.
I've gotten in a couple arguments online with them. I know I'm not going to change their view, so I just try not to engage.
Right.
They sit there and say, well, by you coming into the women's restroom, you're allowing a man to dress up as a woman come in and attack me. So use the men's restroom. And I'm sitting there going, well, I go into the men's restroom. Now I'm vulnerable. Because somebody's going to see, oh, here's this gay man or whatever. And then now I'm attacked for going there. So they don't give a shit about us.
Yeah.
It's far worse in the UK than here for some reason. America's not as bad as it is in the UK, but and it's more reason why I'm trying to show we are just normal human beings, and hopefully they can see that in time, that we are not, as I've said many times on this podcast, when I'm in the restroom, I have to pee. Sorry, hopefully I don't have to trigger you to pee.
No, not at all.
But that's why I'm in there. It's just like I'm not in there to look at you. I'm not in there to anything. Women's restrooms are far more fabulous than men's restrooms in the most case.
Right.
Men's restrooms are usually far dirtier on the norm, but when a women's restroom is dirty, it is far more disgusting than a men's restroom. It's fun seeing both sides. That's one thing I enjoy about this whole thing, is seeing both sides of the coin.
Yeah. I mean that's really how essentially that's how your experiences are right now. You're really seeing to the extreme how both sides are.
Yeah,
right?
It's going through at 37 a second puberty. It sucks. But it's also fun.
But I think it's also so empowering as well, because I mean, pioneering is not an easy thing to do. You're pioneering something. You're part of the pioneer movement, if you can say that, right? Because not a lot of people understand this. Right?
No. Yeah, everything takes time for change, for acceptance. In the 2016 election, people lambasted Hillary of saying, "Oh, she was against gay marriage so many years ago." It's like, yeah, so is the majority of the country.
Right.
But it's changed.
Right.
In 1997, when I graduated high school, there was no out gay. Well, there was one out gay kid, and his life was hell. There was a couple other ones that everybody knew was gay, but they weren't out. Like one that had his boyfriend's name on a bracelet, and he's like, "Oh, it's my best friend." Sure, it's okay. We're not going to hate crime you. Well, some people might, so I get why you're hiding. When I went to my 20th reunion, I wasn't going to go because I was at that point 10 months into transition. And I know life was kind of hell for the out gay kid. So I'm like, how the hell are they going to accept me? And one girl that I went to school with since mid-elementary school, because I moved in 4th grade. So I think our first class was like 5th or 6th grade together. She really pushed me to go. She was like, you need to show them. I'll be there. I'll be by your side. If you need any help, if anybody gives you shit, I'm there for you. Come and show them. And it ended up being a great, great night. They accepted me. I danced with them. I drank with them. I talked with people that I never really talked to in high school. It was also kind of awkward because I was the only one without my high school senior photo on my name tag.
Right.
So like one girl came up to me and you could tell she was trying to figure out who the hell I was. And she was one of the popular girls.
Yeah. That must have been so amazing.
It was weird. And then at the end she was like, "Oh, it's so great catching up with you. You haven't changed at all." And I'm just like, so either she's being a bitch and she's like, "You haven't changed at all," or she totally didn't know who the hell I was. But in that town where, the out gay kid, somebody killed and skinned his cat and left it on his doorstep. That 1997. Somebody I know, their daughter, like I said, 11 years old, socially transitioned, is in Girl Scouts, went to Girl Scout camp, totally fine there. Somebody else randomly, when I was up there at the holidays, I posted that I was there, and like, wait, why are you in Manteca?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I grew up here, and my family, they're like, oh my God, I've been following you forever. I didn't know that.
Wow.
And they were newer to transitioning, so it was great. We never got a chance to meet, and then they just recently left there to head to a different state because they were staying with their grandma, and now they're back with their parents. But just seeing that there is the accepting. I just recently met somebody in LA when we were talking, and for whatever reason, she was like, oh yeah, I'm originally from Northern California. I'm like, what area? She's like, oh, near the Bay Area. I'm like, oh no, near the Bay Area where? And she's like, Tracy. I was like, I grew up in Manteca, and those towns are right next to each other. She's like, no way. And she went through her whole transition while working in Walmart in Tracy.
Wow.
And I was just like, and you didn't get a lot of shit? She's like, no, I got some shit, but not as much as you would think.
Wow.
And so it is coming around. It is helping people understand and see us. There's a lot of people fighting for our rights. How many senators have posted pictures of them having a trans flag outside their office because of the military?
Right. Right.
So yeah, it will come around in time. Hopefully people see, it's...
Yeah.
I wouldn't wish this on anybody that they have to go through this. So like, my choice was to do this or to kill myself.
Right. Right.
It's a shitty way to look at it, but
well, I mean
but it's true. It's because the people that do hate for it. I've like gotten in arguments with people online where it's just like, you're mentally ill. That's fine. Think that.
Right.
I'm happier than you. I'm not the one searching out people to attack online.
Right. Right.
The night of my 20th reunion, I posted my senior picture and the picture of me going out that night.
I remember that.
And somebody posted ew. I was like, all I did was do this the kissy face emoji.
Yeah.
It's like, that's disgusting. I'm like, it's okay. I was one time self-hating about trans people too. So if you're reaching out and looking because you're afraid to self-identify, you can talk to me. And they never responded to that.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, why else are you looking for trans women?
Right. Right.
There's some type of scaredness in there, but it will all come around. I have hope for our nation, have hope for the future. If you would ask me 3 years ago if I had hope for the future, no.
Right.
Sorry, we had to make sure the dog didn't take our microphones off.
There's a dog walking around here, and he almost tripped. She almost tripped on the wire. So
see, look at you, even misgender the dog.
I know, man. I'm so gender blind. So
I don't see gender.
Yeah. No, that's I think I honestly think that in today's age. Stella, please leave. Please leave. Please leave.
Are we going to edit this part out or keep it real?
No, we will definitely edit this part out. Or maybe we'll keep it in. Who knows?
It makes it real.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll edit this part out for sure.
Got to watch the outside.
She won't get up.
That's fine.
Right. That's all right. It's all right. It's all right.
She barks again. She barks again.
Yeah.
You were saying.
I was saying, like in today's age, I think because communication is pretty much everywhere, right? And people are pretty up with every type of news that they want to get their hands on because of the internet and because of like social media, right? I think it's a really great opportunity to not just engross yourself in somebody else's culture, right? Which is really you can't really compare like going to a place, right? But it's sort of slightly close enough where you can experience a certain experience because there are videos that come up, like things that are on the other side of the world, whatever's going on through a revolution in the Middle East, whatever's happening, right? We can sort of still experience that, and I think there definitely is hope because everything always has to balance out. And the more information, the more activism that we move with to get this information to people, it's really then it's up to them to go, I'm curious about this, or I'm not curious about this, or I'm curious about this because this is happening to me, or I know someone that this is happening to, right? And sort of create the community of compassion, if you will, which is why I personally have hope that things will eventually pan out, and that a lot of this fear and division that's being created currently will die down. You know, that's really my hope, is for that to die down and for people to really just come together in the most harmonious way, right?
But how can we do that when everything's clickbait headline to keep you scared, keep you angry, keep you pissed off? I mean, look at the example of the MAGA hat wearing kid and
Right.
the guy banging the drum.
Right.
Like how quickly everybody was to blame him. But then you start seeing more video footage and more video footage and getting more and more of the story. Is we're in such a rage culture where everybody gets so pissed off and so angry right away before they have all the facts.
Well, the problem with that is when you have clickbait, right? That's essentially what it's triggered by, right?
Yeah.
It's that association of what we see, that we believe this is what is happening. But that's the thing, this is saying of, you can always learn about the facts, but the facts really aren't the truth. You got to find the truth.
Correct.
Of the situation.
But are most people going to do that? I don't think they will.
That's the issue.
They only take what's fed to them.
That's the issue, and how do we change that? How do we shift that? I mean, you can't convince somebody to do something. I don't know how we can do that. We can always speak up. We can always do things in our field to, you're a writer, right? That's your activism. So I don't really know aside from like doing things like this podcast to put out there so people can listen to a conversation like this. So this is my part to have this podcast so that people can hear differences of opinions, and hopefully walk away and empowered.
I mean, that's a good goal. I think you have more hope for society than I do, where everybody's kind of in their own comfort bubble. Yeah. And living in LA, it's very easy to get in our own comfort bubble. Right. During the last election, when I would post things, because I have some right-wingers still that are in my life, and mainly left-wingers, that there was so much fighting, and I was just like, keep it civil. You can disagree because you're not going to change each other's minds, but be civil about it. Like calling each other's names and stuff like that, that's not going to win them over. It's what I'm seeing right now with the left in their lineup of nominees possibly for 2020 is so many people are already attacking their favorites' competitors. And they're doing their job for the people on the right. The right's already going to be like, okay, whoever the nominee is, we already know everything wrong with this person. Thank you for doing our work. Right. Instead of sitting there going, like I posted a Mayor Pete thing, like this guy not a lot of people are talking about. He's growing a bit right now, but he's got some great ideas on the platform. And then half the people were attacking Beto for some reason. I'm like, I said, don't attack, but tell me why I should vote for your candidate. Like, let's talk about the good, not just the bad. Like, why are we so ingrained to go with the negative and lean into that when we're thinking politics instead of what's the good that can outcome? 2016 for a lot of people was the lesser of the two evils. I didn't think that. I wasn't the biggest Hillary fan, but to me it wasn't the lesser of two evils. For a lot of people it was. How can we get around that? How can we make this better? How can we make it more compassionate was a word you used. I don't know. And things like this are great, but who on the right is going to listen to you and me talk for 2 hours?
Right.
Unless they have an open mind. Like, but what percentage of even people on the left have an open mind? Right. How many people on the left, when it was coming down to like when it's coming down to people are going to sit there and go, well, I'm going to vote third party because I don't like who the Democrats put up. They're not progressive enough. They're not socialist enough. They're not middle enough. And that's scary. It's like the left is fractured like the right was a couple of years ago when it was the Tea Party and the more of the rhinos and stuff like that. And I don't know. I'm just kind of babbling right now because I don't have a fix for what you're talking about.
I don't think anyone has a fix for what we're talking about. I mean, everything's pretty much, still in the works, if you will, right?
I mean, it would be great if we could get rid of the two-party system, but as long as we have the electoral college, that won't happen. I mean, more states should do. I forget which states already do it. There's one or two that their electoral votes are broken down by a percentage of what the state goes. I think all the states should adopt that, where California, the Democrat gets 70% of the vote. They should get 70% of the electoral votes.
Right.
You know, another place where it's 70% Republican, 30% Democrat, those electoral votes should be broken 70-30. It shouldn't be a winner-take-all state.
Right.
Because when only 80,000 votes is separating two in one state, and that person that won by 80,000 votes gets all of those, I don't know. Right. There's a lot broken about our voting system.
Right. I mean, well, technically I think there are about 5 or 6 parties, but
there is, but they're all kind of lumped into the right or the left. And then if you are a third party candidate, you're stealing for one or the other. Right. And you can't say that necessarily somebody that voted for a third party candidate in 2016 was a vote loss for Hillary.
Right.
One of my own family members voted for a third party, but they're a Republican.
Right.
But they couldn't imagine voting for Trump.
Right.
So they voted third party. So that was a lost Trump vote.
Right.
So everybody that's saying, oh, the third party made it go to the left or to Trump. No, not necessarily.
Right.
That's you living in your bubble. That's why read Fox News, read CNN, read exterior foreign news sources.
Yes.
You can't live in one thing.
Right. I mean, it basically just comes down to the truth. You got to search for the truth, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
but every truth out there is hidden in somebody's own subjective reality.
Yeah, but
unless you're getting it directly from the person themselves.
Yeah. Right. But I find when that happens, where it just comes down to trusting my gut, right? Does this seem right to me, right? And then I'll make an assessment from there.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So we're gonna flash forward this because
okay, we're flashing forward.
I like talking about politics with you because it's always fascinating for me. Because you have a really interesting perspective on so many different fonts. Not fonts, but
fronts.
Fronts. Sometimes I forget to say R's because it's just part of the Asian in me. But
off mic, I'll tell you one of the funniest jokes I heard at a roast battle.
Okay.
So
okay, right now or later?
No.
Let's end it. Let's end it with that. Okay.
No, we're not putting that on the recording.
Oh, okay.
Because it's roast battle, it can be very offensive to some people.
That's true.
And we want to keep this less offensive.
You're right. Well, no. So I kind of want to tie this up, right? A little bit. So what's next for you? What's the next step?
In which sense?
So what's the next step for you in terms of your transition?
So transition next week, I have where I'm getting a first of possible multiple surgeries. Sure, whatever. I joke about it online. As I refer to it, it's called an orchiectomy. What people don't realize what that is if you have a male pet and you get it neutered, that's basically what's happening to me. Or as I refer to it, getting rid of my nut allergy, because I find that as a funny way of putting it.
It's okay. It's really hilarious. I love that.
Because testosterone was bad for me. It was an allergy, and I'm getting rid of it. That's for sure. And then because it's the biggest thing in my dysphoria is my what they refer to as FFS, or facial feminization surgery. If I were to pay out of pocket, depending on which doctor I would go to, it'd be about $55,000 to $75,000.
Wow.
Thankfully, in California, it's a great state and insurance covers it. So besides copays and all that and deductibles, it's covered, because figure if gender dysphoria gets worse and you end up in the mental hospital, 3+ days in a mental hospital, it's going to cost as much as that facial feminization surgery. So that's partially where the California based and even other things now cover it. But I had to jump through a lot of hoops to get to that. Like, to get any surgery, I have to sit there and get therapist letters and doctor letters, and it's a lot of gatekeeping. Like, and I get it, because there's this concern that some of these surgeries are regrets. Gender confirmation surgery or bottom surgery, there's a big thing about regret on that, and suicide rates go up. No, that's scare tactics, more scare tactics. It's the last study I read is only like, it's less than 3%. It was something like 2.8% of people regret their bottom surgery. And it's partially because they don't do the research, like post-op care. Yes, I know it's angry. We're talking about genitals.
I know.
So it's a lot of work for post-op care for that. So that's where the bigger concern happens. Because for a trans woman, they're creating a cavity that doesn't exist. So do I want to refer to what they refer to as dilating, where you have to stick this vibrator-like device up to you for 30 minutes once a week? But for the first year, you're doing it multiple times a day. I mean, if you're having penis vagina sex, you don't have to do that because it's getting it naturally. But it's so much upkeep. So do I want that? I don't know. It's not my dysphoria at the moment, but dysphoria has shifted in my 2 years and what day is it? 2 years, 2 months, and 6 days of being on hormones. It's shifted. There's other possible surgeries because I'm part of the itty bitty titty committee. Do I want fake boobs?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's things that they refer to as BBL, Brazilian butt lift, where it can give you hips and ass by taking fat from one area, putting it into another.
Wow.
But that's a lot of time under anesthesia.
Yeah.
That's a lot of things. And considering being out in public, I don't get called sir, so do I need that? I mean, I need the face and I need the orky, and who knows what else down the road. I would love to maybe eventually someday find a partner. It's not a necessity, but it is, it's human need. That is kind of a human need to have somebody you love. I have great friends in my life, accept me, love me, whatever. But having somebody that you can come home to, that you can confide in, that you can cuddle with, that you just share a life with, it's kind of human nature on there, even though some of it's, but dating as a trans woman sucks. So sucks. If I was poly or polyamorous, I could easily find somebody.
Right.
But that's not how my heart and brain works. My heart and brain is monogamous.
Right.
But I understand why some people are poly. I would love to have a kid, but every year it feels like it's less and less of a chance, because do I want to like adopt a kid at 40 plus, and then now I'm taking care of a kid into my mid to late 60s, and I don't know.
It's been done.
I know it's been done. Yeah. I know some people that have had it even later than that. Yeah. But also too, it's like I would love to be more financially secure. But if you wait till that, you'll never have a kid.
Listen. Let me just tell you something about that. When it comes down to like trying to figure out, when it's trying to figure out like how you can support like a newborn, what I've realized is that you just got to go, you know, and that's what I've heard from everyone, that you just have to move, right, and everything will just work out. Yeah. Right? So I mean, look, man.
The other things on that, just not pertaining to me. I'd love to see more equality and human rights for everybody. Yeah. I mean, there is a constant thing of Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
Like there's so much that can still be done in that, but there is still so much ingrained in certain parts of the country and the rest of the world against them, and there shouldn't be.
Yeah.
I mean, just like me being trans, I did not ask to be born trans.
Right.
They did not ask to be born a person of color.
Right.
So why are you going to hold that against them? Like, we're human, once again. We're 93% about the same.
Right.
Don't let that 7% piss you off and separate you.
Right.
Let's come together. Let's become a better nation. That's what we started Pieces of a Nation for, was to unify all those different puzzle pieces into one big nation.
Right.
It's a pipe dream. Might not happen in our lifetime. Maybe in your child's lifetime.
Who
But
knows,
that's
man?
why we need to start making changes now. So by the time he graduates college and heading out there into the world, it's a better place. Money and religion.
That's a whole nother conversation. That's
Another 2 hours.
That's another 2 hours. So you know what? Let's just end on that.
Okay.
You know, if we can follow up after your surgery.
Okay.
Right, that would be fantastic. Is that okay?
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, Miss Zoey Rose.
Yes.
Thank you so much for this lovely dialogue. You know, really, I'm sending you good vibes for your operation.
Should be okay.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
it's outpatient. So.
Yeah. And this has been great. You know, thanks for coming on.
Thanks you for bringing Pieces of a Nation back alive again, because we disappeared. There's some videos we never posted. I feel bad for those people that gave us their time.
I know. This one,
but now it's so outdated.
it really is. But the heart is never outdated. So maybe.
And if anybody wants to see what I look like as a dude, you can find on Facebook the Pieces of a Nation. You can find my coming out video and see me cry.
Are you on Instagram?
I am on Instagram.
What's your
it's
handle?
Miss Zoey Rose. That's MSZOEYROSE.
There you go. All right. Thank you so much.
And yeah, you might see me doing stand up somewhere, and I'm not that funny. As you can tell by this interview, I'm not funny at all.
Okay. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening, and thank you.
No problem.